For more on the draft now, we're joined by Eric Edholm, NFL writer for Yahoo Sports. Eric, let's start in Columbus. Potentially 3 DBs, Malik Hooker, Marshawn Lattimore, Garyon Conley, could all go in the first round. Who's likely off the board first and why?
Yeah, I would have to say, and it's tough because I think it's really between two of them, but my gut says Marshawn Lattimore, and I know it's probably a deeper class at cornerback than it is at safety. Actually, one of the more deep years at corner that we've seen in a long time, I think. But I still think he's sort of roundly viewed as the best corner prospect. And there may just be enough doubt with Malik Hooker's health right now, given the labrum surgery he had in the offseason, given that, he really only was a one-year starter. I think his upside is tremendous, but I think there's a little bit of a safer feel with Lattimore, and he might just be kind of the higher floor guy right now if we're going to split hairs. But, yeah, I could see either one going first. I think it's Lattimore. And the thing is, Conley may not be that far behind him. I think all three could go in the top 20.
One of the more fascinating prospects, not just in the Big Ten, but in the draft period, is Jabril Peppers. Where do you project Peppers going?
It's funny because, the more teams you talk to, the more people around the league, you really do get the wide swath of opinions on him. Some are just fascinated by the possibilities and, hey, he's going to be a day-one kick returner for you. You can use him on offense if you want. Some teams actually evaluate him as a slot receiver, a running back, kind of a jack-of-all-trades. Other teams are sitting there saying, we think he's a safety, but he hasn't played a lot back there. So you're still projecting in some regards. Ultimately, my gut says he'll still be a first-round pick. Could I see him slide into the early 30s up to maybe the 40th pick? Sure. I mean, Landon Collins from Alabama did a couple years ago, and he's considered one of the best young safeties in the league. So it does happen. But I think just given the fact that he's such a dynamic player with the ball in his hands, I think he has enough football instincts and athleticism to be projected as a good safety in 2 or 3 years, that he still should be one of the first 32 picks. But it's still a little bit of a leap of faith if you're a team that says, okay, I want him out there year one as a starter. I think he's a sub-package guy year one, full starter in year two, and an impact guy and returns right away.
Now, Wisconsin tackle Ryan Ramczyk may benefit from the fact this is a fairly weak draft as you look at the entire offensive line, but there have been lingering questions about a hip injury, how much it may actually affect him. What are you hearing regarding Ramczyk?
Yeah, I think there's probably a pretty good feeling about him from most teams that, he should be able to play at some point this summer, get back on the field. It was kind of considered a 4-month injury. He was excluded from the combine, obviously, so not being able to work out in Indy, not being able to work out his pro day, having only the 1 year of FBS play. It's a concern, especially when you're projecting a player coming from Division III, but he played so well, and I think he excited scouts so much. Some people are saying he's a better run blocker. Others feel like he's a better pass blocker. And just like you said, the lack of depth at that tackle position, I still have to believe he's a first-rounder. He's got the size, the athleticism. He can play the left side. I believe he can play the right side as well. Heck, you could probably make him a guard, too, if you wanted to. But all that being said, even though he is a little bit of a different evaluation, given his background, the injury, the experience, I still think when it's all said and done, he's a top 25 pick.
All players have some measure of risk. Some have more than others. When it comes to Malik McDowell, he appears to be a fairly big gamble. The talent, Eric, has never been in question. It's been other issues. Is there a team or are there multiple teams out there that may be willing to gamble on McDowell in the first round?
There could be. The Dallas Cowboys just brought him in. They own the 28th pick. They're most likely going to go defense no matter what, and probably going to pick the best scheme fit, the best talent. And he's got to be up there. He's probably, like you said, one of the 10, 12, 15 best pure football players in this draft class. The concern, I think, with him is we really don't know if he's going to play full and play hard on every snap and really be that impact guy, because there were too many reps when it looked like he was taking plays off or getting frustrated or letting things bother him and didn't interview all that well at the combine. You watch the Michigan tape, you get thrilled. He was just dominant. You see some other games, you're a little more concerned. Reminds me a little of Rashid Hageman from Minnesota, who slipped into the early part of round 2.
Lastly, what about sleepers or guys who we haven't discussed yet who may come off the board early and or may turn into impact players in their freshman years?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you think about, some of the Big Ten guys like Amara Darboh, and that was not a pass first, line up in a 4 or 5 wide type of offense. I mean, I really like what I saw from him. Do I think he could ever be a number 1 receiver in the NFL? No, maybe not. But he could be that type of solid number 2 receiver, a good contributor. I think he can help out in a lot of aspects. There's some really good defensive backs in this draft who are going to slide. Jalen Myrick, I think, is one who obviously tested very well and makes sense in a lot of ways. And, if people are nitpicking Desmond King from Iowa, where they say, okay, he's maybe not a true corner, he can only play zone, or he's going to be a safety in the NFL. Look, those ball skills, I mean, they show up. And I think his instincts are really NFL caliber. He's going to be a returner as well. So if people snooze on somebody like King, I think they're making a mistake. I think he should be one of the first 50 or 60 players off the board, and I think he'll be a good pro.
Eric Edholm, author of Shutdown Corner and writer of the NFL for Yahoo Sports with all things NFL draft. Eric, appreciate the time.
No problem. Thank you for having me.